I'm happy, I think you did a good job. And It is. That was pretty cool. Got a little pattern. I have noticed that their wardrobe upgrades, that it seems a lot of sweet.
Alright, everybody, go ahead and call us to order. Running a little bit behind, had to get some additional things situated, so come to order here at 7:40. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing fantastic. We've got a monster of an agenda this evening. So first order of business, I'll entertain a motion to adopt said agenda and approval of the previous meeting minutes that are up on YouTube.
So much.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Seeing none opposed, motion passes. Thank you. All right, next item, we have speakers for the floor. I want to take a couple of minutes and introduce and welcome to council Dr. Komaraju, our Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs and Provost. She's come by tonight to visit. We just recently had a meeting with the Provost, with the Executive Board, GPSC, and excited to have you here. You know, getting ready for that, I couldn't remember if this is the first time to a GPSC council meeting or not.
Yeah, I think the only time that I was at a GPSC was when there was a combined USG GPSC meeting last year, where I presented on the reorg.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, you know, maybe not exactly the same as this, so.
Yeah, for sure. This is our true blue business meeting. So yeah, great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we came up with in our meeting that we had, either that was last week or the week before, was that we're seeing if you can't make it to the end of year program that we're going to have with our recognition and honors. So looking forward to that. Hoping that happens. Then I didn't have any other requests for time from the floor from any other speakers. Is there anybody that wishes to request time from the floor? All right, seeing none, I'll move on to the next item. That pleases the council. All right. With that, I'm going to move up here. So one of the items that we had on some old business was the piece that we have for committee review and GPSC appointments. I don't know if it's actually working. So, yeah, I can't actually hear it if it is working. Yeah.
Is it not on, so you don't unlike either?
It might be.
Oh, good. I think it is.
Yeah, I don't. There we go. All right. Now I don't have to scream. Is that old business on the university committees and GPSC appointments to those university committees? I've got 3 of the nearing completion, or 4 actually, I think. Yeah, 4 of the nearing completion packets of what we're looking to actually have for the new beginning of the year sort of description as well as listing of the committees themselves. I created that 2-page like double-sided sheet that has a spreadsheet that we've been working on for the review of these committees and their current status and our current appointments, as well as the comparison of where we started at the beginning of the fall this year for those committees and where we are now. I'll go ahead and just kind of hand out these 4 that I've got. You can pass around. If anyone wants a copy of this, either an electronic one or additional printed, you just let me know. But I don't know how much we would need to go over this one. A big item that is really coming up is trying to build out as best as I can. Additional descriptions for these committees, ultimately sort of what unit they advise or report to, and the different types of activities that they are engaged in, as well as trying to build a little bit more robust of a of a linking to the different officers or the different contact items that we can have for those committees themselves. And then, of course, updating the list of those that we have those nominating privileges to, as well as one of the things that's come up along the way is finding out that a number of these we don't necessarily have nominating privileges to, but we can and are welcomed and not encouraged to actually refer graduate students or really any students to some of these committees. So some of those at the bottom, things like Student Programming Council, Sustainability Council, the big events. So some of these that we had on our committee list before, where we don't necessarily actually submit a nomination for those appointments, but we can steer persons in the direction of those entities if they're interested in being a part of them or volunteering, etc. That is where that work stands. Is there any questions? If there are no questions, obviously anybody that has any questions sort of the future, you can send an email, you can come by the office. Happy to respond to those. This will be some work that continues forward and really is ongoing work just with the executive's office. But with this submission, if it pleases council, I'll take it off the old business and consider that sort of done, particularly with the resolution for appointments here that we have following up. Cool. All right, so the next piece of business that we have for this evening was the resolution for appointments, R1920.07. We have a few things that we needed to make nominations or appointments to, those primarily being the Student Trustee Election Board, our own election commission, as well as its commissioner, and then a few committee nominations for some that we had not submitted nominees for yet. We should have sent out the electronic copy of this, as well as I got a printed copy. This particular resolution is on a two-sided sheet of paper that's a sort of 4-up, if you will. Right? 2 pages printed on each side of the 2 sides of the page of paper. So resolution R1920.07, resolution for appointments. Let's go ahead and do a reading of this. Resolution for consideration by Graduate and Professional Student Council on Tuesday, February 25th. Whereas the Graduate and Professional Student Council shall direct accepting those as described under its bylaws, all relevant committee appointments with the approval of the council. Yeah, this seems to be cut out. Whereas the president will nominate and the council appoint an election commissioner consisting of at least 3 graduate students enrolled at SIUC, of which 1 nominee is designated as election commissioner to oversee elections to which the Graduate and Professional Student Council bylaws are applicable. And whereas the Graduate and Professional Student Council president shall appoint as members of the election board for the student trustee election 3 graduate students as members who are in their service on this election board to promote and publicize the student trustee election, formulate, update, and regulate the rules for the election, ensure the election is run efficiently and with integrity, and to impose sanctions for violation of the election policies. Therefore, be it resolved for the remaining 2019-2020 academic term, the Graduate and Professional Student Council submits nominations and appointments of graduate and or professional students for the following: appointment of Clay Awesome to the Graduate and Professional Student Council Election Commission to serve as commissioner for elections within academic year 2019-2020. Appointments of Kevin Kales and Jeff Liebeck to the Graduate and Professional Student Council Election Commission for elections within the academic year 2019-2020. Appointments of Bethany Peppers and O.J. Duncan to the Graduate and Professional Student Council Executive Board. Appointments of Abdul Samad Maiden, Diana McGreehan, and Bethany Peppers as graduate and professional student members of the Student Trustee Election Board. Nomination of Clay Awesome as the graduate student representative of the Recreation, Sports, and Services Advisory Committee. And nominations of Diana McGreehan and Abdul Samad Maiden as graduate student representatives on the Student Health Services Advisory Board. Any discussion on this resolution? Sorry if I'm mispronouncing names, or if this mic is continuing to cut out and it sounds all crazy. I will hear it later on the video if it does. No discussion? No questions? Say we go to a vote? All right. All those in favor of adopting the resolution for appointments, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Seeing none opposed, motion passes. Thank you all. All right, next piece of old business is our resolution to call an inter-constituency shared governance conference. So under the renaming that we approved in our previous meeting, 05, this should be on the backside of the same sheet of paper that just the previous appointments resolution was on. So I was able to complete what I felt like was a good final format of a resolution for the proposed inter-constituency shared governance conference process that we've had under discussion for a number of meetings. There is still remaining at the end under the second resolve a couple of blanks for potential actual delegates that we would like to include in the resolution itself, or pending us not having two persons that would like to volunteer as these appointed delegates. According to the resolution, we can amend that by removing it and do it at a later time. Go forward with a reading of this resolution. For the most part, it remains the same except for the resolves from our previous version. All right. So, a resolution for consideration by the Graduate and Professional Student Council on Tuesday, February 25th, 2020. Whereas the Board of Trustees and university officers incorporate shared governance through policies whereby the Board of Trustees and university officers consult with, are advised by, and or directed through recognized constituency bodies and or representatives nominated to act on their behalf through committees, councils, procedures, and actions. And whereas the Graduate and Professional Student Council is the official representative constituency body of all full and part-time graduate and professional students currently enrolled at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. And whereas the additional formally recognized representative constituency bodies for their respective constituencies at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale include the Administrative Professional Staff Council, Civil Service Council, Faculty Senate, Graduate Council, and Undergraduate Student Government. And whereas these and other representative bodies of these recognized constituencies and other constituencies, however organized and or to what extent formally or not recognized, existing within, across, or in part of them, for example, labor unions, intra-constituency caucus groups, marginalized groups within and or across constituencies, underrepresented intra-constituency groups, protected groups, may find it prudent and productive to at times engage in discussion, deliberate action, apologies, and recommendation of formal action within their respective roles for the shared governance policies and practices of the university. And whereas recent events and challenges encountered by the university and subsequent actions and changes undertaken by the university, including but not limited to the administrative reorganization of academic programs and units, which have at times progressed despite a lack of consensus, support of a majority, or recommendation from representative constituency bodies, have at times resulted in representative constituency bodies, representatives within representative constituency bodies, and those are represented by these bodies questioning the capacity, fidelity, and or practice and employment of shared governance policies and practices in university affairs. Therefore be it resolved, the Graduate and Professional Student Council calls for the formation of and endorses the participation therein of all aforementioned constituencies and representative constituency bodies in an inter-constituency shared governance conference, through which two appointed delegates for each of these constituencies and representative constituency bodies, appointed according to relevant policies and procedures of their own respective constituency and or representative body, may convene together as recognized representatives of their respective constituencies and or representative constituency bodies for the purpose of an inclusive inter-constituency discussion and exploration of shared governance policies and practices at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, including but not limited to A, needs and goals for constituencies, B, problems or issues with past practices and or policies, C, challenges and or obstacles to participation by a constituency, D, effective and or successful approaches and or practices of shared governance. E, definitions and expectations of each constituency. F, shared and or agreed to operating definition and or expectations. G, recommendations and or policies for incorporation on shared governance within the university and or within the operating policies of constituency groups. H, future actions recommended by the conference for consideration and or adoption by representative bodies from which conference delegates are drawn. Therefore, be it also resolved, the Graduate and Professional Student Council recognizes and authorizes for a term not to last past June 30, 2020, unless otherwise extended through continuing resolution and or otherwise recalled prior to this or any other established date. Someone yet to be named and someone yet to be named as the duly appointed representative delegates of the Graduate and Professional Student Council for all matters related to, in service of, and necessary for full participation in this interconstituency shared governance conference. Any discussion? This is the first reading of the full resolution. If you include in full the two blanks of potential appointees. This not being a constitutional or bylaws amendment, we don't necessarily require two readings itself. But yeah, we haven't had these resolved. The results that were in the previous version on our meeting, the 5th, were different. Here, the approach that I took was to leave a lot of that up to the conference that would be established by such a resolution. And then one of the discussions that we had, I think that was in our officers meeting, was the idea of empowering the appointed delegates of our own body to even go out and try to engage in that work and getting organized the conference itself. Next order of business on this would be to make any amendments, friendly or otherwise, to consider and or nominate and then amend the individuals that would become the appointed delegates for a resolution such as this that would be passed. We can table it. We can withdraw the item. What are the thoughts? Anybody?
I would suggest the first action item is that we just pass the resolution as written, and then formally then look towards nominations, but as written with the links, and then as just something that can be solidified, and then we can turn to the room to see who is interested in a nomination. Unless you want to get to the board.
Or we could, maybe something we could do is, yes, do it as it's written blank, but then maybe take nominations, since this isn't going exist yet.
Yep.
Something that we're anticipating, maybe we take this as something that you can be nominated for and voted for in our upcoming elections. Like that's another something. Because then that way, if someone's wanting to be in some other position, even if we get it, we could still be interested in being involved, this provides another opportunity at that time. Also provides an opportunity for this to be a discussion among other constituency groups.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
By the time that vote would happen.
Yeah, that was, for context, and we had a meeting amongst ourselves about this. That was one of the obstacles that we were bumping up against, was not necessarily myself or one of us in the officers having the time to do some of the legwork for interacting with other constituencies on how this might come together or when. And so going forward with the resolution and what that process might look like from our end and trying to make progress towards at least the call itself from the earlier motion that was passed in our council, we thought the best thing to do is to call and endorse such a process that identifies the idea that 2 delegates from any constituency would be recognized for such a process, and then go about identifying and appointing our 2 delegates, so that then as that timeline develops, as those interactions develop, basically they already have the authority of our own resolution and the boundaries that are outlined in that resolution to act as they need to. What do we think?
I motion to accept the resolution as written.
Second.
I might request as a part of the motion. I guess actually we have to take that to a vote first before I can actually make a point. So you got a motion to accept as written. Motion was seconded. Well, actually, no, we can't have discussion before we vote. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's been a long day. I might ask that we do a friendly amendment to the way that it's written and remove the second therefore until we actually have those, and then we basically just do our normal process of either motioning or a formal resolution itself, going through the process of appointing 2 delegates. It's having two blanks. Right. We would technically have to actually pass motion removing the blanks that are delegates. Weirdness with that.
We have to make a motion for that, or we can make it a friendly amendment.
We can do a friendly amendment and remove the second, therefore be it.
Okay, then we can include this later with some of the numbers.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, then yeah, I like that.
Technically, we have the capacity to even do that just as a motion. We don't necessarily have to write it up. The resolution just gives us the ability to see everything, right?
So we can make the motion, make the friendly amendment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's accepted as a friendly amendment, we don't have to vote on it. Those that make a motion to adopt.
Motion to accept with the friendly amendment to remove the second therefore.
Right? Is that
Yeah, no, you're good. It sounds like you would accept a friendly amendment of that kind.
Yes.
That,
Is there a particular reason why the end of the fiscal year is June 30th, 2020, but everything else is not like restricted to 2020 itself? So can we switch that to fiscal year so it still has that same date, but then this document we won't have to do this again this year?
I agree with that actually. I mean, if we remove that though,
Yeah.
something that, if we're doing a friendly amendment to just remove that last, therefore, then that's something that we can look at if we adopt it again.
Oh, it's for the whole, therefore.
Yes, we're removing the whole therefore.
yeah. The date is in there. I picked the 30th of June. Yeah. In our discussion, I was more uncomfortable with not having an expiration without a further motion of a continuing resolution that lets 2 individuals act as delegates of the council while it's not convened, is my big reservation. And so June 30th is a little bit friendlier to the notion of, like, say, May 15th for finals week or something. But it's right after May 5th, realistically, even April 24th is our last business meeting. Like, council is no longer convened to do business. And you would have 2 individuals that are formally recognized by resolution by this council, acting as representatives outside of an active council session prior to then even us having a membership of the next council that would come in August. And I wanted to make an action that would allow that to happen separate from the action that actually appoints individuals is the appointed delegates. That's my approach to it, but it doesn't have to be the
I do
council.
appreciate your comment though, of just using language like per fiscal year, and or per academic year, because that way it doesn't, this document then is finite to that particular time frame. So it leaves the document open for the continuation of that conference moving forward without having to update or redo the document per year. And I think if we remove the nominations from this too, it also provides the flexibility that each year it is understood that there would be nominations to that conference.
We do have a friendly amendment accepted to remove the second therefore going forward and leave it with just the first in the items. Any further questions or discussion? There is a motion with a second to adopt as written. Friendly amendments otherwise. The motion we were trying to make earlier was potentially to call the question. All right, seeing no other discussion, move to a vote. All right, all those in favor of accepting resolution R1920.05 with the friendly amendment, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Seeing none opposed, motion passes. And then I guess continuing business then on that, if there is anyone that is interested in pursuing the role of one of our appointed delegates for such a process that we have now called for and endorsed the participation therein of 2 appointed delegates, just reach out and let us know. And make some quick notes. I don't remember how to spell friend. Unfortunately. All right, we got 8:07 for new business. All right, new business. GPSC elections, an overview of the process, the rules, and a short question and answer. So, hopefully you saw in the email that we got our elections coming up. The election meeting itself will be April 14th. In that election meeting, we will elect our 3 officers, so the president, the vice president for administrative affairs, and the vice president for graduate school affairs. And we will also elect 4 graduate student representatives to graduate council. So 7 positions up for election. Right? I did the math correct? Seeing nods, it's good. As a part of that election process, like I communicated in the email, there are attendance requirements for council members, attendance in 1 of the 3 meetings prior to the election meeting. One is required to fulfill that criteria in addition to some others. And so this is the first meeting to fulfill that attendance criteria. So all of you that are here now and are current members of the Graduate Professional Student Council, have thus been, so long as all other criteria remain in good standing, continue to be eligible then to vote in the election. So a big thing to reference for any questions, as well as the ultimate rules that will guide the election itself, are in our bylaws, which are up on the website. It is going to be Article 3 of the bylaws itself, and it looks like it starts on page 6 of that Constitution and bylaws, so long as I'm not getting this wrong. And yeah, that's what I thought. And we also, Frank just approved our election commission. I'm going to serve as the election commissioner for our election activities this year. So I'm just going to read a few highlights from the election itself, and then pivot to any kinds of questions that folks have, and move forward from there. We will go over the nominating procedures in our next meeting, which is a week from tonight, actually, March 3rd, and then the next meeting, which is March 24th, I think that's right. We will have second round of nominations for candidates. To appear on the ballots, you do have to be nominated and then second for that nomination. And so nominations will begin in our next meeting. But to start reading from the bylaws itself, so GPSC must appoint an election commission to oversee elections to which these bylaws are applicable. It consists of at least 3 members who are graduate students enrolled at SIUC. So we just appointed those this evening. The election commission ultimately interprets the election bylaws, from which I'm reading, for the purpose of ensuring fair elections. We designate an address for all correspondence with the commission. That will be our office upstairs or the GPSC at siu.edu email address. You also, I guess, have our office phone number and perhaps, I guess, my cell phone number as well. Determine whether or not a prospective candidate meets qualifications of candidacy, oversee the nominations, oversee the conduct of campaigns, verify and post accurate list of qualified voters in conjunction with the Vice President for Graduate Affairs. That's another weird language shift in the Constitution we didn't get last year. So the accurate list of voters will be kept upstairs in the offices itself. I'll post those within the office, but probably not up on the glass itself. So they'll be available for you to come into the office and see, or I might post them on the glass from my office upstairs itself. Be responsible for the preparation of the ballots, oversee conduct of regular elections, and if needed, runoff and special elections. Determine the winning candidates by proper tally of votes cast. Submit to the GPSC the results of the elections. Investigate and decide any protest appeals for charges or violations within the specified jurisdiction. So, going on to candidates. We need candidates who will be nominated in our next 2 meetings for the positions of President, Vice President for Administrative Affairs, and Vice President for Graduate School Affairs. And then for 4 different, well, yeah, I guess the number doesn't matter there. Candidates for Graduate Council representatives as well. All of these candidates must be graduate or professional students enrolled and in good standing at SIUC for the term during which elections are conducted. However, the candidates need not be voting members of the GPSC during their candidacy. To be nominated, one has to be nominated as well as then, this is weird, strange. It's not really a nominating procedure. So to have your name actually appear on the ballot, you have to be nominated. You have to be nominated at either of the 2 regularly scheduled GPSC meetings preceding the election meeting. So like I've been saying, our next meeting, a week from tonight, regularly scheduled meeting, and then March 24th, unless I'm incorrect, is our second meeting prior to then the election on April 14th. So you'll have to be nominated at one of those to actually appear on the ballot. These nominations must be moved and seconded by voting members of the GPSC. So while candidates do not actually have to be voting members of our council, their nomination does have to be moved and seconded by a voting member of the GPSC. Nominees must be provided the opportunity to decline the nomination prior to balloting. So if someone nominates someone else, they actually have to basically provide their affirmation of accepting that nomination. In the case that somebody nominates an individual and it receives a second other than that individual, and we don't have confirmation that they actually are interested in running for that office. Moving on, the conduct of the elections. The elections will be pretty much at the top of the meeting, I imagine, for the April 14th meeting. That's something that we'll lead off with. The elections themselves, I won't go into a great bit of detail. We'll save that for the close of nominations and the meeting to come at the end of March. In general, what you can expect is each one of the candidates has to be balloted separately, or each of the offices. So we'll actually have a ballot and speeches for the candidates for president, and then we'll do voting. We'll determine the outcome of those votes. And then we'll move to the Vice President for Administrative Affairs. We'll do the candidate speeches, and then there will be the balloting, voting, counting of the votes, determining the outcome of that. Then we'll move to the candidate speeches, the balloting, voting, and the determination of the outcome of that election for the Vice President of Graduate School Affairs. And then we will do the speeches, balloting, and counting of the votes for all candidates for the Graduate Council representative positions, for which there are 4. And so you're ultimately able to vote for up to 4 persons that are candidates for those positions. So in each one of those offices, each of the candidates does get time to address the council during that election meeting. The times are actually strictly outlined within the bylaws. So the candidates for president are provided 10 minutes, candidates for vice president are provided 5, and graduate council representative candidates are provided 2 minutes to address the council, which includes all activities, whether that is giving a speech, whether that is distributing materials, whether it's answering questions, what have you. It includes all of it. So under that, for instance, a lot of time may be used for speeches, testimonials, questions from the floor, or other similar activities. Voter eligibility, the elections must be held at a regularly scheduled meeting, which we plan to do, and members eligible to vote must have attended at least 1 of the 3 meetings immediately prior to the election. The Election Commission will post a verified list of qualified voters at the GPSC office at least 1 week prior to the election meeting. Voter eligibility is limited to membership in council and then a regularly scheduled meeting 3 prior to the election itself.
Is it 2 and 3?
No, the clause, this is going to be 5.2 under the bylaws for Article 3. Voting eligibility, elections must be held at a regularly scheduled meeting, and members eligible to vote must have attended at least 1 of the 3 meetings immediately prior to the election.
Just to make sure everybody was familiar that leading up to that, I think
That's
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
I remember that one
Yeah.
vividly. With that, I'll open the floor for any questions. We'll go over this again. As we call for nominations a week from tonight, I'll be more explicit over the nominating procedures prior to opening the floor for those. And then at the close of nominations in our later March meeting, I will be more explicit about what to expect for the April meeting in which the elections will be held. And then, of course, on the election night itself, a pretty explicit overview of the voting procedures, or the whole election process, rather. No questions, at least for tonight? All right. Then we will keep moving. Next time we got to do business is making sure everybody's aware and announcing and directing you towards the web pages and submission forms for our annual awards program, for the Research Awards, the Outstanding Graduate Teacher Awards, and our Distinguished and Outstanding Service Awards. So I believe I printed some of these out, right? Yep. I've got copies of them. So we got the updated one sheets. I've been trying to work on flyers that can go with these. So in the sense of like one side is a nice, more graphic, sort of eye-catching flyer, and then the back side is the one sheet with all the information. However, every time I try to do that, I end up getting way too invested in how it looks. So they're not done yet. However, if someone wants to take that off my desk, thanks to, I'd be more than happy. However, the one sheets that you have been provided are up to date. Got all the new information and links in those. So the PDF versions that you were sent as a part of the meeting email itself, all of those links that are underlined in there are active. So in the PDF itself, you can click them and it will take you to those web pages and or submission forms, as well as the emails being active. They outline all the same information that is up on the web pages themselves. that is on our website and the outline of those programs. And if there's nothing else to give my voice break, do you want to do an overview?
Oh, sure, yes, I would gladly do an overview of this. I was just waiting to see. But yes, and I will also remind you, thank you, OJ. I noticed that OJ sent that out to our department. So that was given to you in the email that was sent out for this meeting. So if you'd like to also inform your colleagues of these various awards, we, wide waste trees, wide waste paper. So we also have these one sheets that you're more than welcome to grab more of as you exit. Then let me go ahead and before I start, I'm gonna pass these out. So I'm gonna describe what all these awards are, but also what you can do is service. So if you're in this room, you can also provide service by being on the selection or review committees. So on the back of these, which coordinate with the information, I also just asked you to just write your name and email address. You can see which one is for the teaching award and which one is for the research award. And I'll also, after I read these and describe each of those awards, also describe what that selection process looks like and what will be required of you. So to start off with, we do have our service award. Anyone in this room who's committed to service is welcome to look at that. So I'm just going to read these as is, but also kind of summarize these things. So the service award granted by the Graduate Professional Student Council of the Southern Illinois University of Carbondale aim to recognize, honor, and celebrate the efforts and contributions of those who work, supports advances, and/or demonstrates exemplary commitment to the graduate professional students at SIUC and the mission of GPSC and SIUC. We have two service awards. Our first one is the Distinguished Service Award. So GPSC's Distinguished Service Award recognizes, honors, and expresses gratitude to those persons, groups, or organizations who in the course of their work and duties are demonstrative of excellence and illustrious and exemplary commitment to support, advancement, and achievement of SIU graduate and professional students, the mission of GPSC and the mission of SIUC. So if you do know a professor or an organization on campus or those that you think that you'd be interested in nominating that truly does support graduate students, feel free to send those nominations our way. The next one is Outstanding Service Award. So this is also in honor of express gratitude for those persons, groups, or organizations who demonstrated consummate determination and commitment to excellence and achievement in practice and resolution to the well-being, investment in, and success of graduate professional students at SIUC. GPSC's Outstanding Service Awards recognizes the persons, groups, or organizations whose contributions and efforts are exemplary and aspirational in ideal contact, of which others may strive and effort to serve the students at SIUC and the mission of GPSC and SIU. Now, Clay, I'm going to ask you to help me distinguish, because I felt that these sound very similar, in my opinion, when you read it like that. So how would you distinguish the two of these?
Yeah, our thinking in these two different awards is the Distinguished Service Awards is to recognize the work that someone is doing as a part of their position, whatever that is, that they're being recognized for, or the mission of an organization perhaps, or the specific initiative of a group, however that's construed. But essentially they are doing what it is that they've set out to do in a distinguished way. Versus the idea of the Outstanding Service Award is someone that is doing something in a way that sort of demonstrates excellence and achievement in practice, resolution to the well-being. And so it's sort of going above and beyond just what it is that would be doing one's job quite excellently. So basically doing something in a distinguished way. So whether that is going beyond the scope of what it is that was required of them, or particularly innovating something about that position or that role or that effort, that has sort of defined a new standard. And so at the ending of that, the idea of whose contributions and efforts are exemplars of aspirational and ideal conduct, which others may strive in their own efforts, versus the idea of just doing a very distinguished job of one's task.
So I would give the example to show you the distinguishable difference between the two, who are selected winners were last year of those awards, because that might help. Because I think if I were just to read this, I would maybe not be able to distinguish the difference between them. So for the Outstanding Service Award, it was one of our own members in GPSC who committed to looking at additional programming that served graduate students as well as undergraduate students through that programming. So we went to an individual student who it was not their job or duty to do so. So it was outside of their duties as a research assistant, their duties as a student. The other one was someone who was an employee of the university. In their employment, in their role, they rose to excellence in that service. And so that was already part of their commitments to the university. And there are two that kind of fell within that category. One that was serving as our interim graduate school director, and then also someone I believe that was recognized as an amazing alumnus of the university who had made great contributions to the commitments. So hopefully that gives you a distinctional difference when hearing those examples of who you might nominate for one of those two, or for both. Those nominations are due on April 3rd. You can see then the nomination details, and then and then all those who are recognized will be recognized at our end of year ceremony on May 5th. Any questions about this before I move on to the next category? Okay, but I think that I will say that I think that there are many people in this room that certainly qualify for our Outstanding Service Award for the commitments you've made during your time here as service to GPSC, at your time here at SIUC, and the commitments you constantly make to this community. So know that people in the room can nominate each other. So look at your peers around you now and think about who you might want to nominate. Now getting to the good stuff, the stuff that involves money. So we then have our research award. So our research award, I know I've discussed it many times here, but this is an annual research award that is funded by the Graduate Professional Student Council and aims to recognize and financially support, emphasis on financially support, the scholarly research and creative activities of our graduate professional students. Through this program, the GPSC awards up to $1,000 to winning applications, and these funds may be used to support travel purchases. These are available currently on our website, so if you go and you just click on the main page at siu.edu, and in that search key, put GPSC, it takes you right to us. And on that page, you would then just go to the fee allocation board page, click on that click on that categories. All these awards are on there. You then can go to a link that describes in further detail this, as well as how to apply and where to apply. Now, what you will need to apply and what is required of you is that to be eligible, you have to be a student enrolled at SIUC. But note this also, this is something that we've had applications from both the medical school, and someone from the law school also wanted to apply. They could, because this also serves our professional students. So to apply, you will need a 1 to 2 page proposal that summarizes your project and specifies how the research award will contribute to your overall research. You also have to apply an itemized budget list that also can correlate to how the funds might be used. Then it's okay if that itemized list goes over the requested amount of that $1,000, because we all know that research can be very expensive. And I will emphasize the word thoughtful. You should also ask for a thoughtful letter of support from the faculty member of your department. Because that is one of the categories in the matrix that we use to look at this, and I've received plenty of unthoughtful letters where I'm surprised they even knew the student based on the letter, because it certainly showed no effort, and so it will help us. It allows, I would tell them that it allows you to expand, like, so you're only limited to 1 to 2 pages, so the letter allows you and them to expand on you as a general student, your commitments. So use that as an opportunity to expand in your overall story of your research and you as a student deserving of this award. So do you think about that? In addition, these must be submitted online through our application process. We do ask that these are sent in a PDF form. I know that some professors feel uncomfortable sometimes submitting things through that type of format, so they can also send that to me directly. So feel free to just contact me if you have any questions about that. But I will need help with reviewing this. This is usually a really fun opportunity to look at all the distinguished and outstanding research that occurs on this campus. In the past, we've had upwards towards 100 submissions, and it takes a team to review 100 submissions and to go through 100 submissions that are very diverse. Some that come from the College of Arts, some that come from the sciences. So I hope that as that paper is going around that you do sign up and that you do consider, because it is pretty amazing for anybody who's ever served. Yes?
When will these committees meet?
Well, this will be meeting in April. So based on who signs up, and that's what I was going to explain. So if everybody signs up and says Saturday is a better day for me, we do usually meet on the weekend. So we meet on a Saturday or Sunday, depending on the schedules. We will meet here in the Student Center, and it's a morning. I bring bagels of your choice, or treats of your choice, coffee, tea, beverages. So we have ourselves a lovely breakfast as we look over outstanding and amazing research. But we do have, it's very, it's down to science. You will be paired into teams. So as we're looking through these hundreds, that means your team will probably, so if there's 5 teams, each team will then get 20. They will then bracket those, bring their top to discuss what they have, and then the top ones are then moved to the finalist pool, and then we discuss that collectively as a group. So that we as individuals don't have to review literally 100, because I trust those who've been committed to serving. So, so the process then doesn't take literally all day, but it will take a morning or afternoon, depending on when we can meet. All right, the next one is also potentially one that will have a financial award this year. So that is something that we're looking at last year, but it's something that looks amazing on a CV line. And that's our Outstanding Graduate Teacher Award. Raise your hand if you're a graduate teaching assistant. So I encourage any of you to apply. If you're applying though, I would say that you may not want to serve on the committee, because I know that we do have some amazing graduate teachers in this room. And if you have questions on what makes you a competitive applicant, I'm happy to let you know. On what kind of stood out to you in the committee last year, I'm always happy to give those in the room some advice on how to write a better teaching philosophy and all those good things. So feel free to ask my advice. So the Outstanding Teacher Award will recognize 3 graduate assistants for their pedagogical practices as educators on the campus of Southern Illinois University Carbondale. SIU's graduate teaching assistants have a tremendous and long-lasting impact on our current and past undergraduate students. Graduate teaching assistants are able to relate to their unique experiential knowledge and training to students in the classroom setting. So Outstanding GTAs encompass the mission and goals of the university by embracing, and I quote, a unique tradition of access and opportunity, inclusive excellence, innovation and research and creativity, and outstanding teaching focused on nurturing student success. It is tough, Clay. It's tough talking for so long. So these will be due on April 10th. So they're a little staggered. So if you want to apply for more than one, you don't have to feel so rushed. So if you apply for both the research award and teaching award, it gives you a little time for both. So for this one, it is unique because to be eligible, once again, you do have to be a student. You do have to at least have a teaching assistantship this year. So at least at a 25% teaching assistantship. And then what you also will need is you will need a direct letter of support from an undergraduate student, from one of your students, that kind of talk about how you impacted their lives, how you what your pedagogical practices are within the classroom. So this is not a nomination from one of your professors, but someone who's actually been in the room with you as a student. So you feel free to ask that. You also have to provide your personal teaching philosophy statement. And then in addition, we do ask that you provide us your quantitative and qualitative student evaluations. So depending on what your department requires of you. But if you don't know what those are called ICE reports, or so that's something that you should have records of, and if your students have ever taken that before, you can collect that data and provide us. Because not only that gives us more of a screenshot of what your overall classroom is, not just one student. Then on top of that, to support yourself, you may also ask for departmental letter support. You may add your CV. You may also give examples of some of your lesson plans or assignments and how that incorporates your pedagogical practices. And then also, you can write a additional short essay for yourself that might then complete the language of that teaching philosophy. This, once again, all those submissions are done through our website, and you can go to any of these links if you have any questions about that. please let me know. For this one, it's the same thing. We'll be meeting in the weekend in April. I had a small group last time, so I just took them all to Chris Sato's. So depending on the size of the group, we usually need a lot more room to kind of spread out. For our research award, where you're dealing with 100 potential applicants and papers and reviewing all those documents. Last year, we did not have as many awards, so we didn't need the space. This year, likely, hopefully, with the promotion of this award, we're moving up to one of our conference rooms upstairs, have a very similar breakfast experience as we look over the pedagogical practices and outstanding teachers that exist on the campus at SIU. So, I hope you sign up for either or. Yep.
So, okay, it says it has to be a current undergrad, but can you nominate someone and have them as an undergrad?
So, you're nominating a teacher?
Yeah, like they're teaching,
Okay.
but I had them as an undergrad, but I'm now.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, you just have to be a former student of theirs. That's really what I'm looking for. So someone that can speak to their actual experience in the classroom and what that meant to them, or the kind of additional support that they gave them. We had some really great letters last year. Some fantastic letters from Caleb, I'm not gonna lie. As far as like going above and beyond outside the classroom to secure that student's sense of security on this campus and to continue their future here at SIU, if that makes sense. So even go beyond with the expectation of like just here's 2 + 2, this is what that is. No, here's how you can be motivated as a student, and here's how you can continue your successful path as a student. We've had some that have, they took that class with them and they switched majors because they were so inspired by them as an instructor or whatever it might be, or someone, we have several from the math department that always felt that they could never get it, but somehow, some way that student was able to speak to them, speak their language, and allow them to embrace something that at all other areas of their lives they failed at, but now they're suddenly an A student in their class. So those are the type of motivational letters I'm looking for, if that makes sense. Or what a good letter might sound, rather than they just did their job. So I also got letters that just said, they showed up on time, they showed movies and did things like that, so they just did their job. So it's going beyond than just doing their job.
Do spread the word on these. These are really great sort of professionalizing practices to go through, particularly with the teacher award and getting together that sort of dossier of your work and an assessment of it, putting together the pedagogical statement, going through the exercise of applying for the research and creative activities awards in itself is also a great exercise. And a lot of benefit from it. So encourage your colleagues, your peers, everybody you know to apply. Not sure we'll work on the review committees themselves, but these are really great.
And I will note that as you go into those links, because a lot of people, their problem is they're great teachers, but they may not have a teaching philosophy yet. That shouldn't hold them back. They can always contact me. I can show them examples of past winners with permission from those winners, and or just like go online and show them like the formatting. Here's what a first paragraph looks like and things like that. So I'm happy to give them that kind of aid and instruction if it means that some of our top teachers are applying.
Sure. We've got what? Month, right?
Oh yeah, a little over a month. Like
yeah. It would potentially even be possible to go and get help from different centers on campus to do this kind of work. So yeah, spread the word, get it out there. In the case the person's a question to follow up or wants some assistance, there's resources, including ourselves, to help you put it together. And then we will continue to ask for volunteers to serve on the review teams. This is something you can also share with your colleagues to consider volunteering for. If there's someone that you know in your area benefit from serving on one of these review teams, that would be fantastic.
Is that sheet going around? Yeah, the sheet. It's over there for me. I'll grab that. I'll grab that from you at the end.
Is there any further questions on these? All right. Cool. Well, all right. So the next 2 items I'm excited to bring to the council. So we got a resolution R1920.008. authorization for funding budget for organization workshop with Kevin Purcell, correct? Kevin Purcell, resolution for consideration by the Graduate Professional Student Council on Tuesday, February 25th, 2020. Whereas the Graduate Professional Student Council is committed to enhancing the professional development and educational advancement of all students on the SIU Carbondale campus through on-campus programming. And whereas the Graduate Professional Student Council has allocated approximately $600 from the GPSC Executive Board Programming Fund towards campus and community programming during the 2019-2020 academic year. And whereas Kevin Purcell has admitted to leading an organization workshop from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on March 27th, 2020 in the Kaskaskia and Missouri rooms of the SIUC Student Center, which will focus on human systems and organizations and its impact on leadership actions. And whereas Kevin Purcell was the Senior Director of the Organization Development for Microsoft from 1993 to 2004, and led the design and delivery of executive and management development courses and strategic planning services for Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer. And whereas Kevin Purcell has led the organization workshop to thousands of global leaders, executives, for example, Bill Gates, and students. And whereas the organization workshop will require items requested by the workshop leader, which include presentation materials, AV equipment, and more. Therefore, be it resolved, the Graduate Professional Student Council authorizes an allocation of funds to its executive board in an amount not to exceed $600 drawn from existing cash reserves for GPSC's executive board programming toward all required materials and items for the execution and promotion of the organization workshop led by Kevin Purcell on March 27th, 2020. Any questions, discussion, comments?
Sorry for the typos, but we can make some friendly amendments. I typed it up right before this, so mind me.
So you want?
There's the 2010, it should be 2020.
Yeah, that's the one I got.
I wrote it down, like it works now.
Any questions, discussion? This is something we've been putting together. Really excited to bring. This is actually going to be just using the funds that we've even already earmarked as part of the budget that we approved earlier this year for this type of programming on campus. So we're just looking to authorize it for this specific program, as well as then you have all the information about the program, which more will follow.
Yes. And I'm happy to tell you a little bit about this now because I'm going to be creating, because I want those in the room to have the first opportunity to sign up for this if they are interested before it's broadcasted and promoted across campus. Because participation will be limited to a total of 50 participants or 50 students. And so Kevin has already asked that he promote this to certain student bodies, and that's going to probably fill up like 2/3 of the room once he does that. So I'm going to be creating so this will be, as mentioned here, held on Friday, March 27th. The workshop itself is a 3-hour block. It is expected that you will be able to attend the full 3-hour block. Now, as it mentions here, Kevin is a very successful man. He literally works directly with Bill Gates to help enhance the organization itself. So he worked with Microsoft, their executives, and has served with world leaders and done workshops with world leaders to enhance our organizational psychology skills. And so, so he's an expert. This is something he's provided to us for free. This is something he usually charges a lot of money for. So you have the opportunity to attend one of these workshops that people pay a lot of money for. And so it will start in the morning at 8 o'clock. That's going to be a check-in, some like appetizers kind of start the day with. We'll have the workshop with breaks in between, and then have a networking event following. You don't have to commit to the whole 5 hours, but you have to be there for the 3 hours of the workshop. So I'm going to be creating a reservation page that's going to be going onto our website. I'm going to notify the people in this room first that they can go on and sign up. So that way I have your name and commitment. And then once the people in the room have been given a few days to make that decision, I will then turn it over to the public. And once it's full, it is full. So that's your advantage for being a council member. But you know, if you want more details about what the workshop, how the workshop will operate, I've got the write-ups on all that. We also have like YouTube videos of how this is held in different places, so you can kind of get a feel for it. But it's very much hands-on with some you can really advance you in anywhere, any path you go in your life. Any of these skills are transferable that you learned in this workshop. Any questions about that, or people less interested? But I will hopefully be getting that up to, by Wednesday or Thursday, and then sending an email out to all of you so that you can sign up by the weekend before he promotes it to certain groups next week.
Any questions? There's no further discussion on this. We go to a vote for the resolution. Seeing none.
Oh, just to make the correction to edit the date.
Yeah.
The friendly amendment, friendly.
amendment.
Yep.
Change 2019 to 2020. All those. I'm sorry. All those in favor of accepting or approving the resolution, friendly amendments included, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same side. All right, seeing none opposed, motion passes. Thank you, everybody. All right, next item of business is another authorization for some funding. You should have had it included with the meeting email, the promotional flyer for the Student Creative Activities and Research Forum. It has the deadline for an intent to submit an abstract that is this Friday, I believe, 28th of February, which I think that's Friday. Yeah. All right. And this is an event that the Graduate Professional Student Council has been collaborating on with the Office of Vice Chancellor for Research, McNair Scholars. I think I'm leaving someone off. Office of Sponsored Projects. Oh, for sure. Diversity Council. Yeah, Diversity Council. Yeah. So if you're unfamiliar, Student Creative Activities and Research Forum is a big sort of day of poster presentations on ongoing research and scholarship at the university. We participate in helping coordinate the day of activities, promoting the event itself, providing a little bit of logistic support for like refreshments, things for the judges, as well as in recruiting and promoting persons to volunteer as graduate student judges for those undergraduates that are participating in the day of the event. It's a really great event. One of the things that we are adding to do is what's reflected in this resolution itself. So resolution 1920.09, authorization for funding budget for the Student Creative Activities and Research Forum. Whereas the Student Creative Activities and Research Forum, scheduled April 21st, 2020, is held each spring to celebrate the research, scholarly, and creative activities of SIU Carbondale undergraduate and graduate students in all disciplines, through and at which students are invited to display a poster explaining their research, scholarship, and/or creative activity. And whereas the forum does not require any registration and/or membership fee for participation, participants must produce a 42-inch wide and 36-inch tall poster with respect to their research, scholarship, and/or creative activity for display at the forum. The costs of these posters are known to at times exceed $75. And whereas participants in the forum are engaged in professional development and professionalization related activities, such as producing, preparing, and then presenting their research, scholarly, and/or creative activities for public dissemination, including for a panel of judges coordinated by the program who score the participant's presentation and provide the participant feedback. And whereas the Graduate Professional Student Council has in the past and is again collaborating as a partner and co-sponsor for the forum, including promoting student participation, soliciting graduate and/or professional student judges, providing day of support, and assisting with event costs. Therefore, be it resolved, the Graduate Professional Student Council authorizes the President and his Vice Presidents to receive, review, and when all established requirements according to existing policies, criterion, and procedures are met, approve career development reimbursement award applications which request reimbursement for costs associated with graduate and/or professional student expenses stemming from posters included in the 2020 Student Creative Activities and Research Forum. Therefore, be it also resolved, the Graduate Professional Student Council authorizes an allocation of funds in an amount not to exceed $1,500 drawn from existing funds within its miscellaneous budget for the purposes of paying expenses associated with its collaboration in Student Creative Activities and Research Forum. including but not limited to, I, refreshments provided for judges the morning of the forum, and two, I guess, reimbursing fresh students and reimbursements not to exceed $150 per individual for costs associated with the production of posters required for participation in the forum and which cannot otherwise be reimbursed through GPSC's Career Development Reimbursement Award Program due to the student having already received the annual $150 portion thereof award. So in essence, what we're asking to do is to authorize us to actually process career development reimbursement awards that are seeking reimbursements for costs associated with participation of a graduate and or professional student in what we call STAR. We're just going to call it STAR so that I don't have to say the whole name, which is one thing. And then the other thing we're doing is asking for the authorization of a budget not to exceed $1,500, in part so that we can cover pretty negligible costs, say like getting some coffee, bagels, and things like that for the judges the morning, the day of the event, but also to create a pocket of funds for persons that perhaps have already used at least a portion, if not all, of the $150 that they may have received through the CDRA program, to then also have costs associated with the participation in STAR, printing of the poster, covered by that additional allocation and authorization of the reimbursement process for the costs associated with their poster. Basically trying to make it easier for persons to participate in the event, since posters can cost things like $100, $120 here and there. And so even if you've potentially already gone to a regional conference, national conference, use your CDRA funds, so you can actually receive money in that way, we'll still, so long as all criteria are met, sort of reimburse the costs associated with that printing of the posters. We also won't be the only ones reimbursing costs associated with the printing of the posters. I believe Diversity Council is doing the same. I believe that, well, there's already existing relationships with the undergraduates. For the graduate students, it's pretty much just going to be limited to the Diversity Council and maybe some funds through either the graduate school or the Office of Vice Chancellor Research. But otherwise, it would really just be us. And so that we were trying to create that opportunity where someone can get a little bit of those costs, all of those costs reimbursed for the creation of the poster. That, I will take questions. Inquiries? Yes.
Sorry, I just wasn't sure, because we had actually discussed this amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
So being that we will be offering this as well as the Diversity Council, is there any way of checks and balances? Do we care if they double dip between both? Because most posters don't cost $300 to make.
Yeah.
And so knowing that our funds and their funds are limited, will we be able to know if someone is asking for funds for both? Or will we limit that to where they can only ask for one or the other? And so that's just something to think about. I mean, it's one of those things, every student can use the money, but if other students potentially, if we run out of that or if we meet our limitations, and other students need it, and they have double dipped, how to use that language, it takes away the opportunity for someone else. So I just wanted to just see if there might be opportunity. It doesn't have to be in the resolution, but informally, just knowing how we might want to discuss that with the Diversity Council. That's kind of a checks and balances to each other, whether it's just showing our sheet of those who requested funds would be as easy as that. And then also wanted to know, being that I'm processing this, I know that for our CDRAs, someone can apply before and or after presenting. Is it the same for this, or do we ask so that we know and can ensure that we're meeting that? Because as we come closer to the end of the year, being not the one that has to deal with this budgeting, we're going to eventually run out of funds. And then someone might come to us and say, well, you promised up to this amount, but you only allocated $750. So where's the other $750 that the people are coming in May asking for money from the poster they presented in April? See what I'm saying? But in May, we usually run out of money, if that makes sense, by that point. And so if we've limited...
I would suggest sending an email out to everyone who gave a letter of intent saying you have to apply by this date.
That's my recommendation. So I'm just kind of coming from where I'm coming from for this. I would prefer that they request the funding before presentation, so that way we know then that is exhausted, even if we don't meet that total of 1,500, and then I can then open that up to anybody who will request for travel funding, because we usually do run out of travel funding by April. So I just want to make sure I'm not tied to that and don't have to hold it.
The other option I just.
Whoa.
Is that the person council could actually transfer money to this fund so that it's allocated to there as well.
That's true.
That way you don't, if there's no double.
Yeah. So makes sense. Sorry, we didn't get to
Yeah.
talk this out prior.
Yeah,
but-
sorry,
No,
this
that's
was, we
okay.
just was like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Well, there's also something we can table,
Yeah.
and bring back.
I mean, I certainly don't mind passing this with the understanding that it's not to exceed 1,500. But I do think that internally, for the EC, we might want to look at some things that go beyond the resolution and the functionality of that. And it doesn't have to be the resolution for me, but wanted to say that openly in the public meetings, so that if you're going to your constituents and talking about the opportunity, that they know where some of those limitations might lie in the future. Personally, I mean, that's my recommendation.
I echo your concern about people double dipping between the two different organizations in terms of getting the poster printed. I also really do question, first of all, why we would be offering $150 per poster. Mainly because I did question the fact that posters would exceed the cost of $75. That means that students and PIs are not looking to the ample opportunities to print posters on campus that are much cheaper than office max. What I would do if I was a student with a bit less integrity is I would say, since my PI covers the cost of my posters, I'll apply for this anyway, and this is on my pocket, and so would the University Council's award as well. So I'm concerned that this is a good opportunity to be giving money away for something that's not necessary, especially if we can give them $150 to print a poster that in many academic units costs no more than $20. So the numbers are really concerning to me, and that's money I think works out.
Well, I will say it's an amount not to exceed per individual $150. Same kind of structure as the CDRA. The big thing with the CDRA, a lot of times conference registration exceeds $150 just outright, let alone the travel to get there, so we don't run into that issue. But they are reimbursement, they reimburse expenses, it's not just the actual award. So in the sense that a poster does cost $20, the reimbursement should only be for the expense. But we put a cap on the amount of expenses that we would do. I put $150 for this just in the sense that it's consistent with the CDRA, and in the instance that someone is only participating in the START event itself, they can get reimbursement through CDRA. It's just an existing program. The fact that it's on our campus is kind of neither here nor there for applying for reimbursement. But if we were to do something that goes beyond that to encourage additional participation in the event, they've already received something to the CDRA program, basically just mirroring it, and they limit the amount that can be reimbursed, but going beyond the availability of reimbursements in just the CDRA program. I think the biggest issue is how we, I agree with the idea of not getting monies that exceed what their actual costs for it. That's not what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I just put it out there just so that it was on my top of mind. And happy to discuss more the actual resolution on the functionality and process of it. So to move back to the point of discussion.
Any further questions? What do we think? Yes.
I was just saying, if it's on campus, then we have the services on campus. Can we instead create something where you can get your poster printed through us and we'll pay for it, rather than them getting the poster printed and then we reimburse?
Yes, it's like the office, the OBCR does kind of print. That was part of their discussion too, is that come to them. Well, they have some color restrictions on there, so because of how much it costs.
Right.
But like you could essentially get it printed through there. But that could also be something that still, do you know what I mean? Like if you know that like you want 10 colors,
Yeah.
then maybe they would say, well, you need to get additional funding because we need to cover X amount of like black plus one other color. So there are, but also like printing and duplicating. I mean, that might be what Ben's talking about too, but printing and duplicating those posters as well. And they were marketing those too. So like there's a lot of avenues on campus, but this is also in general to help cover, because if someone's like, well, we won't do it unless you pay us too, then it still costs us associate.
It certainly is worth promoting the services that are here on campus
Yeah,
too,
for
as
sure.
we promote the, like this type of funding,
Yeah.
just to say like, here's our recommendations
Yeah,
and things like that.
yeah, because we could say go here and then this one.
Yeah,
Because
certainly.
it's like, you can transfer to different accounts.
Yeah.
If you like, you do have everything duplicating or like marketing or things like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, like,
Yeah.
kind of maybe working with the
Yeah,
print shops on campus.
we just have to make sure we don't overwhelm like one particular.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because I think they're not, they probably aren't used to doing all of them.
But we also have to do a deal if we do it.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that someone was talking about that. I think Reddit was talking about that with printing and duplicating specifically. I think that's the price issue so which I'm talking about. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. So they might already have an arrangement. Actually, I think they do with printing and duplicating specifically, and that's why it was already a certain price anyway. I don't know if that helps with the thought process.
Two things. One, also as context, I guess we're also talking about approximately 20 to maybe 35 students that would be graduate professional students that this would apply for. So not a ton. And then it sounds as though we maybe want to table this for back to another meeting. There's a few things that I feel like we should explore on the administrative side to how this might actually work, and then better address the resolution itself for the authorization of that kind of a program. Yeah, actually, I would entertain a motion to table it and take it up as old business in the meeting.
Motion to table.
And the second. All in favor of tabling and bringing it up in meeting next week?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, everyone. So moving on to the allocation board.
All right,
Yeah, do it.
make it happen. Talk fast. Talk fast, watch out, doing it. So I passed out our resolutions for the three organizations that we met with today. The first organization that we met with was the Graduate Writers Forum. So I'm just going to read the resolution and then talk to you a little bit more about the event itself. Or I'm also, anyways, I'll just read it, make fast. I'm going to read really fast. So resolution for consideration by the Graduate Professional Student Council on Tuesday, February 25th, 2020, whereas the Graduate Professional Student Council may designate a portion of its funds for allocations to registered student organizations for the purpose of supporting student activities, and whereas the fee allocation board is authorized by the Graduate Professional Student Council to supervise the allocation of funds available to graduate professional student registered student organizations, and whereas on February 14, 2020, the allocation board received the application for the Graduate Writers Forum, hereafter known as RSO, requesting $2,000 to support the Little Grassy Literary Festival. And whereas having held a hearing with RSO on February 25th, 2020, in which the qualifications and eligibility of RSO say the uses for the funds requested and anticipated benefits provided by the programming were considered, the fee allocation board submits to the Graduate Professional Student Council the recommendation of $1,700 be allocated to RSO and the support for this event. Therefore, be resolved, the Graduate Professional Student Council, having heard this evaluation recommendation, the statement of facts hereby authorizes for use during the academic year according to this agreement made by the fee allocation board, a transfer of funds to be made to the RSO in the amount of $1,700 and authorize the president of the Graduate Student Council to take all action required for the execution of this resolution in accordance with the GPSC's established policy. So to tell you a little bit more about this event, the Little Grassy Literary Festival is happening on April 15th and 17th. This is an event that's been happening on this campus since 2009. I would say that event is correct. And they usually bring in an estimated attendance of about 400 individuals. This year, they are going to be opening this up even more and partnering with other universities, which include SIUE, as well as the University of Missouri State, to bring in also outside students to our campus. So for those who are undergraduate students, this is certainly an opportunity to promote our graduate program and the MFA program that hosts this particular event. They have already, so this event overall cost $10,000 plus, but they have already raised the majority of the funds for this, having raised already over $2,400. Primarily, this will go towards a variety of authors and writers who will be coming to the university to participate in the festival through readings, lectures, both on-site and off-site, off campus. And they are very well organized. This is definitely one of the best presentations you've seen all year. And we have a history of giving them, our high end of giving several years ago was $2,000. Our low end of giving last year was $1,000, just because of our restrictions of budget. So we are leading towards, because of the what they've done and the expansion of the event, and my anticipation that they're going to actually exceed more than 400 than they are predicting, that we do look at that total a value of $1,700. Any questions regarding the event before we vote on the recommendation?
So last year we did them $1,000.
Correct.
How much the 2 years before?
So it has gone, so based on our own budget decline. So it went from 2,000 fiscal year 17 to 1,500 in 18 to 1,250 last year. And then this year it's up, are we there at 1,000? So I'm sorry, from 16, so I think I started fiscal year 16. So 2,000, 1,500, 1,250, and then 1,000. So, and you saw the gradual decline, but that decline was because our budget line for eventually declined. So they were kind of just like mirroring that. We actually have more in our budget line this year than we had last year. And the remaining budget that we have, what's that? It's substantially more. I'm talking like substantially more. Almost double. That's a good point. Almost double what we had. And we still, at this point, when we made this decision, still had nearly $7,000 on the account towards event funding. So that's a lot at this point left of the year. And so that's why we also determined that value. But it really was, if I were to give you what they provided us, also the promotions that they're doing for this event, what it does both for our undergraduate and graduate student body, the networking, but also, like I said, it's a great opportunity as they're expanding this to our surrounding universities to promote what we do on this campus, hopefully get transfer students and those who are looking at coming into our, and they even pitched this, I just did this, the opportunity provides our campus is to bring potential graduate students to our campus, knowing that we offer events like this. Yes.
Do they have other avenues for funding to get the $300?
Yes. So they do have, are going to have some fundraisers that are lined up. But they also had a potential pending donation from COLA itself that they were going to go back to, and that was about the value that was for, I would say, when we were talking to them. But they do have potential additional fundraisers, which they already have lined in plan, but they don't know what that will bring in. Any other questions? But I mean, anybody can also say, give more money.
I was going to suggest that if, as long as we have the money to give the full $2,000, seeing as they went through the entire process, they put together a presentation, and this is something that brings students, undergraduate graduate students. So I would motion to increase it to that.
Motion to amend the amount allocated to $2,000. Motion to amend the allocation of $2,000 has been seconded. Is there any discussion of the motion? Yes.
So thank you so much for the idea of getting some more for such an activity that we use students and campus. But if we have much money, or we set up like a double amount of what was happening last year,
Oh, sure.
I mean, we might allocate that extra money in other activities. For example, like for the research work, instead of
Yeah, you are absolutely right. So this actually came up during our pre-allocation board meeting, is that if we have additional money that is not used or requested, what is used with that and where is it reallocated, and we're going to go for, like, because that falls towards the end of the year, and usually once we get past a certain point, all events on campus are pretty much done, and we stop seeing applications. And so that would then go towards our teaching award or our research award. It would be reallocated to one of the other budget lines that fall under the fee allocation board.
So thank you. So I would like to continue on that saying, I mean, yes, for example, if we are accepting like or getting 10 research or winners at the end, we can add more. We can make it like 15 winners or 15. So I feel, I don't know, That's at least my feeling for now. I feel if we have much money, it's not, oh, just we have money, oh, let's give here, let's give here, let's give here. Instead of making more a strategic way to have the back.
I'm so sorry. Ben?
Yeah, during that meeting, they reported that their anticipated required amount of money for that this whole event's going to be about $10,000, and the amount of money they've raised so far plus the entire amount, $2,000 that they've requested from us, was going to equal about, I think it was $10,700, so $10,700. So with the $1,700,
Yes.
that still puts them about $300 ahead, minus those fundraising events as far as
Yes,
as
so,
far as
so if
what
it's,
to do.
so if it's more transparent, the top sheet, like you mentioned, they said the estimated cost is 10,000. But when they're looking at things, or then they gave us a sheet that looked at what was literally, and this is how organized they are, what the estimated costs are, what has been secured by what accounts, and what they're hoping for GPSC to cover. And so even with all that together, that with the only thing we were concerned about is them having to dip into their own surplus. So even with all of that, they've already raised and confirmed $8,415. They're anticipating fundraising another $300, at least during this period of time from now to April. So the projected total funding, not including us, or including us, would be $10,718. So it does then put them, if they remove the 10 from that, raising $8,700, but then leaving only what we're giving them would then still be over $300 what the predicted projection of expenses are.
I'm sorry, I thought that I heard,
Oh, so sorry, yes.
No, go ahead.
No, you're speaking.
I thought that I heard they only secured 2,000 already.
No, that's what they're asking from us. They've secured nearly, over, 8,000, nearly 8,500 with the anticipated more fundraising.
So my only thought with the reallocation is that we're gonna be having this conversation every week until the end of the fiscal
Absolutely,
year.
yeah.
Because we're gonna keep giving money out until we stop meeting as a council and board. So just because it's this organization, it might be someone else next week. So
Correct.
I would just kind of put that off of your mind until the end of this semester.
So, yeah, thank you for saying that, but also what I can see, if we have extra money, it's not just yeah, we do have extra money, let's give more here, more here, more here.
It's just that, I mean, it's not a conversation until the end of the semester, if that makes sense. We're not going to give any of the FAB money to anything else until it's over, right?
Right, so it's still staying in the channels of event funding for now, until it was to the point where we were no longer receiving applications. And at that point, we would determine how that would be reallocated amongst the allocation board.
Yeah, but what I understood is, by this time last year, now this year we have double amount of last year. So even having that conversation early with that amount, we can strategically go okay, so if we have that amount, we can have half of that for events, but also the other
what's
half.
allocated for event funding is first going to go to event funding. It's not going to be strategically planned that we're cutting that in half and then there's something else.
Oh, no, what I meant is the extra amount.
Okay, gotcha.
That's what I meant. If we have an extra $3,000, so then we can have that conversation. Let's have $1,500 for the event, for such thing, and then the other $1,500 for another thing. Rather than just, oh, we have extra money, let's give here, let's give here, let's give there. I mean, the idea, just to make clear, it's not the idea that not to give money for this specific organization. My idea is, or concern, is about how we are allocating the extra money. I mean, I don't have any issue we give them even $2,500. That's okay, sure. And even bringing more students and campus, that's great. But my concern is how are we dealing with the extra money?
Yeah, I think my concern is I'm just uncomfortable with overfunding an event. I understand that it's a great one and that we need to continue to support these things that are recruiting opportunities, that are retention opportunities in all, areas for people to showcase what they're doing. But with this 1,700, you're saying that we're already giving them money that would cut them
No,
about
what we're saying is that includes like all their surplus, so then they would wipe themselves out. So we're like, okay, so rather than wipe themselves out, that's why we talked about getting them, because at first to be very transparent in our conversation, our range of giving at first was between 1,500 or 1,700, just based on our patterns of giving, which I've always said is something that we evaluate our patterns of giving over the past few years, is that's how they should be budgeting, is based on our patterns of giving. But because we had practically doubled and had quite a bit remaining, we said, okay, so that they can have the successful event, knowing that it's within a timeline of about a month and a half of when the event will launch. And then would give I think the predictable estimate of $300 to meet that funding goal is predictable. But that leverage in between, that either we then have to wipe out all their savings, and or we moved up. And so some people started at 1,500, and then we really evaluated that they would be wiping out their surplus and or savings to then execute the event, because that then just potentially use them another $200 in their account. And that's where we came in. It's like, we don't want them necessarily to suffer, and you never sometimes can anticipate some of the overages, so we put them right there. And that's where we came to that total. Does it make sense?
Yeah, no, that I'm fine with.
Yeah.
Just not,
Because
I understand that we have surplus of money right now, but just still being intentional with how we're spending it. So, can we have,
There's
because we
a,
talk about it a lot, so
there's a second motion on the floor to amend the resolution, with the amount
Yeah,
of.
make sure, discussion, it's still discussion on the floor.
I was just
It's still
gonna say,
discussion,
we're like, so the 7, we said 17, right? So we're at-
Yeah.
So the 17 is still under what they asked for, so it's not, I think it's great when we give them more. It's not like we're giving them more than they asked. We're not, I don't think we're overfunding, because like we said, we still put them right in the line.
I do share your concern though, I feel like 2,000 would be overfunding, that's why I don't get.
And that's why everybody in the allocation board looked at each other like, I don't feel comfortable doing that. Because we know.
We all voted 17, so that's.
Because we knew that would put them over, like, what their projected funding needs are.
Well, when I motioned, I misunderstood, and I thought they only had 2,000 already secured instead of the 8,000. So knowing that they have 8,000, I feel comfortable not withdrawing the motion.
Anyone opposed to the withdrawal of the motion to increase the allocation to $2,000? Seeing none opposed, because I just Googled this, that actually works. There was some question as to whether we actually had to pass a motion to withdraw a seconded motion. And so long as no one objects, actually, that's sufficient. So motion withdrawn to increase the allocation to $2,000. Resolution stands at the allocation of $1,700. Any further discussion? I venture that we are ready to move to a vote. All right, all those in approving the allocations for the $1,700 for FAB 1920.010, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same side. Seeing none opposed, motion passes. Thank you, everyone. All right, I'm going to help out and read the next one. We are on 11 for Student Recreation Society, correct?
Yeah.
All right. All right, so resolution FAB 1920.011, allocation of funds. Whereas the Graduate and Professional Student Council may designate a portion of its funds for the allocation to registered student organizations for the purpose of supporting student activities, and whereas the fee allocation board is authorized by the Graduate and Professional Student Council to supervise the allocation of funds available to graduate and professional student registered student organizations, and whereas on February 18, 2020, the fee allocation board received an application from the Student Recreation Society hereafter RSO requesting $1,000 to support the John Allen Symposium. And whereas having held a hearing with RSO on February 25th, 2020, in which the qualifications and eligibility of RSO, stated uses for the funds requested, and anticipated benefits provided by the programming were considered, the allocation board submits to the Graduate and Professional Student Council the recommendation of $750 be allocated to RSO in support of this application. Therefore, be it resolved, the Graduate Professional Student Council, having heard this evaluation, recommendation, and statement of facts, hereby authorizes use during this academic year and according to the agreements made with the allocation board to transfer of funds be made to RSO in the amount of $750 and authorizes the president of the Graduate Professional Student Council to take all action required in the execution of this resolution in accordance with GPSC established policy.
All right, so so this event is for the John Allen Symposium. It's going to be Thursday, April 9th. It is an all-day conference in a sense, from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's held at Touch Nature. The anticipated attendance for this is estimated around 150 people, and this includes both our current students who are undergraduate and graduate students within recreation. But also our alumni and those who serve as faculty and staff. For this one, this is something that we had given to you in the past, and so our past giving, last year we gave $750, and then I want to say 2 years prior to that, it was like $250. And so with the transparency on this one and how we also came to our decision is that there are some, so they had originally on this top sheet had estimated that their event was $4,200. But when we look at the itemized list of what was given to us, that total only came to $1,540. And so we asked them about that discrepancy, and it was really hard for them to explain that other than unfixed or uncertainty of rental costs. But since that rental cost, what that possibility and probability would be, if that makes sense, rather than whatever else, that an additional $3,000 that they're expecting or whatever. We did not predict that. So, so it was an undergraduate student that came to present to us, and they may not have had all the full details. They did seem a little nervous, so we did provide some grace there and not really wanting to push that issue because they may not have known all that. But even looking at that, we are happy with who it serves. We think it's a wonderful event. And so we did just want to repeat our pattern of giving, and so that's why we selected the $750, because that's most likely what they have based the budget off of. That we could not, because of the uncertainty of the discrepancies, we couldn't look at giving them the full 1,000 request. Any other comments from the allocation board, or that's fairly accurate?
Questions, discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, are we ready to move to that vote? All right. All those in favor of approving resolution FAB 1920.011 for the allocation of $750 to the Student Recreation Society, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Seeing none opposed, motion passes.
You want Lindy to read this one? Lindy asked to read it.
I didn't ask her, I said,
I really want to read that.
Discussion is coming.
I can please let me read that resolution. Lydia asked. She
I didn't ask.
She said.
I said I feel bad because you were reading, and if you need another voice, I would offer. So I guess I'll do it. I've never done it, so be prepared for some applause. Okay, a resolution for consideration of the Graduate and Professional Student Council on Tuesday, February 25th, 2020. Whereas the Graduate and Professional Student Council may designate a portion of its funds for allocation to a registered student organization for the purpose of supporting student activities, and whereas fee allocation board is authorized by the Graduate and Professional Student Council to supervise the allocation of funds available in graduate and professional registered student organizations, whereas the American Fisheries Society subunit of SIU was granted $200 to allocate toward 2019 HOG during the fall 2019 semester, and where hot roast. Oh, okay. And whereas on February 21st, 2020, the fee allocation board received an application from the American Fisheries Society subunit of SIU, hereafter RSO, requesting $325 to support eating the enemy, fish fry. And whereas having held a hearing with RSO on February 21st, 2020, in which the qualifications and eligibility of RSO, stated uses for the funds requested, and anticipated benefits provided by the programming were considered, the fee allocation board submits to the Graduate and Professional Student Council a recommendation of $350 to be allocated to RSO in support of this application. Therefore, be it resolved, the Graduate and Professional Student Council, having heard this evaluation, recommendation, and statement of facts, hereby authorizes for use during this academic year and according to the agreements made with the fee allocation board, and transfer of funds be made to RSO in the amount of $350, and and authorizing the president of the Graduate and Professional Student Council to take all action required in execution of this resolution in accordance with the GPSC established policy.
So no, that should say hog roast. Sorry about that, Lindy. But that was like music from your mouth, man. You should be reading every resolution. Music from your mouth, man. All right, so let me tell you a little bit more about this event. The American Fisheries Society is going to be hosting the Eating of the Enemy Fish Fry. That's going to be April 18th at 4 p.m. All are welcome and invited. This is a public event. They do look at this as a promotion for their department and promotion of just also this particular fish and how it serves the environment and how it might be one of those things. So the fish they will be frying is the Asian carp, which if you ask a vet about it, it's an invasive species. It does jump right in the boat, jumps right in the boat apparently. So that's what they'd be serving, and they're kind of be educating everybody on that particular species of fish. On top of it, so it's a really fun themed event. What we particularly liked about this is they are very detailed. They in their presentation, they already have the flyer set up with GPSC and USG, so they know that we have to recognize them or recognize us and any of the promotional materials. But we, looking at what the event cost is or estimated cost, I think we also guessed that they were probably underestimating that cost. So they had predicted the cost to be $500, but their event in the fall, which we also did support, had brought in 90 people, and that was with a rain out, if that makes sense. So we were expecting that number to be much higher than what they predicted, and that's why we were, yes.
You should also point out that several grad students from the fisheries department have pledged personal funds towards this.
Yes, and so
cost, so this is also a bunch of money for people who have no money.
Right. So what they have collected so far is $200 in donations from graduate students who pledged to support the event. So that's primarily where their funding comes from, is individual student support.
There are currently about 10 students in that department as well. So
yeah.
That shows you the local dedication.
Bethany, I'm so sorry.
For the policies in terms of giving them more than what they requested, is that in line with our?
That's because because the total cost is $500. I mean, it still doesn't exceed their total cost. I mean, this is why it's up for the council vote. I personally don't mind just at $25 being over. Even it's just, in my opinion, not as heavy hitting as $1,000 over or $500 over. So it was more of just that we predicted from the request that they were under bidding, so it was with like granted a little bit more because they also have made such small requests in comparison to other organizations that do request something to us. This hand was up first.
I got two things. So the first thing, this is the one group that they're using every penny they have before they even come to us. Like they're paying for their own event, which most people will come to us before they even attempt to do that.
And before they do any sort of fundraising or any sort of.
My second thing is they came to us last semester, so all of us have been on the board the whole school year, and they implemented a ton of ideas that Diana gave them. Like they actually are making an effort. So and it's $25. So.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really because I always give people additional advice on revenues, how to promote their events, how to have more functional events, and things like that. And so for the functionality of increasing participation, especially by undergraduate and graduate students, because of the location, I gave them like carpooling ideas and things like that. And they were talking when they met with us, so like, your suggestions and ideas really helped advance our events, and they reiterated everything we pretty much had told them to do, which is impressive to me that people listen and that are really thankful and great and have a certain gratitude of what we're providing them as the fee allocation board. Whereas other people, we're giving them the best advice they could ever have and on how to like sustain their whole RSO because they're a family. And it's like, these are the avenues you can take. These are literally the administrators you can talk to, this and that. And you can tell it's just like, wah, wah, wah,
and they just come and ask for like $8,000.
And then they're asked for, and they literally,
and that's not a joke.
well, can we ask for, like, well, you can't give us $8,000? Like, no, that's like, we don't even have that in our remaining budget. Like,
so we're trying to reward positively.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would like to reiterate my concern about how we are treating the extra money and even like that $25. And I would like also to reiterate the same question. What is our council policy with overfunding? Do we have any kind of policy or idea about what has been done in the past? Or what?
Yes, we have given people more than, so like, for example, Nick's group came in and they had like a weird total. So I was like, this is a really weird, like because they thought they were budgeting to a bit, and like it is more common that people then like estimate that there might be overage. So I was like, we're just gonna add on another $20, and that's an even number. So it's like something 30, like I don't know, like $930. I was like, why don't we just give you 950? Because I'm guessing that these particular areas are you have not estimated correctly, and it's literally just $20 that is coming from the event funding. So we're, like, I'm gonna reiterate this. We've dedicated this money to event funding. We don't plan for it to go over. We plan to use it for event funding. And that's the priority first. So I'm not planning on having $600 or $600 or $6,000 maybe. My first intention is that goes to what it's allocated towards.
Okay, what was the pattern of overfunding in the past?
So overfunding would be, so here's my example of overfunding.
Do you mind if I finish my question?
Sure, please.
What was the pattern of overfunding in the last 3 years? I think you.
What overfunding means, so what overfunding means by my definition.
Over request.
So if you look at actually what their budget line is, they've asked way under what their budget line is.
Yeah.
So overfunding would be pay for their event and over. That would be considered overfunding. So they're asking way under what the cost of their event is.
Okay,
For
but the
support from us.
request is $325. Am I right or wrong? So they requested $325. Is that right or am I understanding things wrong?
No, that is what they, and
Okay.
then we as an organization said, you are overly underestimating what the event of this past.
Okay.
So we asked them to, so I literally, if I wanted to, just ask them to then change and come back next week, is that what you would prefer?
I mean,
Well,
so they are requesting $325.
Those funds.
Yeah.
We're gonna take the floor for a second. Chelsea. Let's keep the line of questioning pertinent to the resolution at hand. If we have larger questions as to the history of allocation or policies governing the recommendations for allocations of funds for RSO event funding coming out of the fee allocation board, that is a different matter than necessarily the resolution at hand. And I feel like many of the questions that we might have for those would go on the scope of the information that we have to give. Any kind of discussion or question that we have for the specific resolutions that would be at hand. And in addition to that, I would add, it's come up a couple of times as far as policy goes. If the allocation board receives applications, requests for funds, our council approves a budget that allocates funds to different areas of the activities that we do as an organization. We have approved that budget that is given that budget sort of bucket to the fee allocation board for these types of allocations. Now, the fee allocation board then submits to council for its consideration to actually allocate those funds, the recommendation. There is no policy that says how that recommendation is delivered or what criteria those recommendations have to fit in. Essentially, the fee allocation board, as far as our existing policy, can make a recommendation, however its own internal deliberations have decided. Then it is up to the council to make its determination based off that recommendation, what it would like to ultimately allocate. It can completely disregard the recommendation from the fee allocation board, it can accept without question that recommendation, or it can amend that recommendation, however it sees fit. And that is essentially the policy already. The allocation board receives those applications according to its own internal application. It has its own committee deliberation. The committee brings that recommendation to the council then acts on that recommendation through its own action. So this resolution is actually the council's own action. What we just received is a recommendation from that committee. Recognize the forms.
What was that?
Recognize you with the floor. Yeah. Additional question, discussion?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's still the same concern. The statement at the beginning, we are at this time of the year and we have double amount of what we had last year. That statement drove me to see the extra amount that we would give or we are giving here for another $25. Again, it's not the $25. It's the concern of how we are treating the extra amount. Or the statement at the beginning that was said, we have an extra.
Well,
First
hold on,
offense
hold on,
and the
hold on.
budget.
I still run the floor. I'm gonna jump in there and add in a comment to that. I wanna make sure that you understand, the comment about double was talking about our overall budget for the entire year for the fee allocation board. Relative to last year, it's about 75%, like 175% of where it was last year. We had, I think it was total of $10,000 budget for the whole year for the fee allocation. This year, I believe it's something in the range of like 17,000 is what we have for it. Now, the increase in that budget is mostly related to the fact that we didn't have a massive amount of debt from overspending the previous year. To reassure the council, I want to make it clear that the budget amount that the fee allocation board has to recommend allocations of this year is more consistent with where it's been historically than what it was last year. Last year was an anomaly because of particular problems with the budget oversight and some own like accounting issues within how our funds are managed. So what you look at in the history of our allocations is we're actually returning back to levels that are more consistent with our historical patterns of allocations to RSO event funding than they have been in the past 2 years. And most of that is related to reconciling structural deficit and how we spend money and the $9,000 debt that we carry over a fiscal year over a year. So the double budget amount is related to eliminating that debt and being able to go back to that amount of money available rather than having to cut our budget. And basically, we had a very austere year. We had to engage in pretty fundamental austerity in order to reconcile a bunch of unpaid bills, which was our research reports primarily. And to that point, that's why we have the funds. Now, was it the
just to bring this back to the resolution at hand.
Yes.
Once again, first of all, $25 extra, I see it as it's not overfunding that organization anyway, since they'd already the funding they'd already had been sacrifices from the students involved in that RSO. So based on their organization, the way they handled their last meeting, then just that kind of concept of establishing a solid pattern of giving, which the total of 2 years, total of 2 events this year would be 550, is our pattern of giving for this year. Kind of makes sense to just that extra little amount. I see it mainly just to alleviate some of that financial burden on the graduate students who are already giving so much for this event. And I will say just to the events to support them, they are extremely high bar, so and do a lot of educational outreach across the university. We just did an event today, we did one last week as well. So the quality of the RSO should also
Yeah, I mean, they're not far, so they do well. I appreciate that their students are committed to what they're doing. I think really though, just additional concern was the fact that it's an anomaly to see us give something that is over what is recommended. And so that's my initial shock. It's not necessarily that we're saying needs it. But, I mean, well, I don't know.
OJ, you had your hand raised as well. If you have any comments or.
All I want to say is it's a priority thing to give this money to funding and not think about anything else. Otherwise, it's kind of an unethical thought to keep this money so
I was just gonna say, along with what Ben was saying about them taking out of their own pocket, they could have not done that and asked us for $500 if we'd be giving them more than $300. I can guarantee you that would be a recommendation at least to the council. So I think this like whole extra money thing is just really irrelevant at this point.
I would also say, I mean, I know a lot of people are looking at me. I was not the one that made the recommendation. This is a council decision. So it's not just me saying like, this is what we're gonna vote, if that makes sense. So I have to base it on the 4 people that are there and what the collective vote is, if that makes sense. And so
Right, there was more of us there
than just myself. And so what I'm really defending is I'm defending the other people on that council. and their decision to do so, and their ethics in doing so, and their decision-making process. Because that was not, I mean, if anybody's on the council, was that the first thing I raised my hand and said?
She was surprised. She lets us talk first. She asks our opinion before she says anything. She's not like covering or anything.
It's a recommendation from a committee. There has been a deliberation. There's been a considerable amount of work, right? I mean,
Right, this is like, we got here at 6:30, like, we've been here all day.
And we're also seeing all the board body presentations along the way as well.
Right.
Judging it off.
We really think hard about it, like, I know I do, I know these two guys take it very
First question is always
seriously.
how much do we have left, and, you know, what's the
We think about every
state that we're
possible.
getting for the rest of the year, how much do we pay next month to come in, we we're worried about other things too, we're not trying to throw in money at people that don't deserve it. For any reason.
So there's something it's a careless thought, it's really not.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, but also, again, like, what I hear is that if they requested like $500, we might have given them $400. To me, that's like another thing, because again, I'm still with the idea, we requested $325. Again, we appreciate them, we are here to support them. $25 is not a big issue. Like, even like $500, giving them, it's still the way we are treating the money here. That's my final thought.
I feel the way we're treating the money is we're giving the money to organizations and serving the money for their events. And once again, it's not an anomaly that we've given over the amount that's been requested. As stated a few times, we gave it under organization the past few years, more money by the same amount, like $200 that they requested.
And I also reiterate what, because I think where I'm getting my frustrations, and I apologize, is that I agree with what OJ said. To me, it is unethical if something has been allocated towards event funding, think how we can skim off those events and their requests so that we can save money to then deliver to some other category later. That is not what those meetings are for. It is focused on the event funding and the streams of event funding that will continue, that will come in for the rest of that semester. So what I'm hearing you saying is that it's your focus on the extra money. The prediction is that there will be no extra money if we have events that come in and request funding. So that's where I prioritize that line of funding.
We don't think
So
about
the
it that way.
committee prioritizes.
Event funding for event funding.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
committee.
The event funding committee looks at event funding.
yeah, and if I could jump in, and then I got, yeah, we, like the money that is allocated to the fee allocation board, we have also still the cash reserves, and realize we haven't got a full budget update yet. It is coming. We're gonna have some quarterly reports a week from tonight, on that. And so, I mean, by and large, still pending some analysis, we're in good shape. We still have the cash reserves, things like that. Still have money for CDRAs, we have the money for these programming. Yep.
I think you said a while back that, and it sounds like the question that's being asked is a larger question than just regarding this resolution. I was wondering if we can move this resolution along and maybe have the larger question, like you said, another time that's more appropriate to it. I understand it is related to this resolution, but I don't think we have to have that conversation in its entirety right now.
Does the good council person call the question?
Motion to call the question?
Motion to call the question, is that motion seconded? So seconded, all right. All those in favor of calling the question, this is a vote to move immediately to the vote. Please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Seeing none opposed, we will move to a vote on resolution FAB 1920.012 for the authorization and allocation of $350 to the American Fisheries Society subunit of SIU. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Sorry.
One opposed, motion passes. Thank you, everyone.
How is everyone? Hanging in there?
Yes.
Okay. Next item on here is officer reports. I have first up report from GPSC Vice President of School Affairs. Wendy?
Yes, well, I'm going to make my announcements quick because we had an executive council meeting this last week and the general council is until March 5th. So I just have a couple of quick updates. One is that I'm sure a lot of you heard or attended the HLC visits and those have completed. And the final reports are being composed now, so we'll get information from that shortly. There is also, as of last week, because this meeting was on the 20th, grad applications were done by 8 applications, but admissions themselves were up 23.07%. And then there are some kind of open apps in our current system that are actually for fall numbers. So once those are moved to the fall, we'll have more accurate numbers to be able to give you a little bit more details about the grad applications. Several of my announcements are also included in Clay's written report that's attached, so I will not give some of those. The chancellor, I'm just going to give my committee update right now, so it's just the chancellor thing. But the chancellor search is also commencing screening interviews this week, and finalists will be selected from those interviews that are happening in the next 2 days, and with the hopes of bringing people to campus as early in March as possible. So we'll see how that goes. In addition to the research forum, I was just going to add in, thank you, Clay, for making all of those announcements alongside the resolution. Is that there in the past has been a large focus, not intentionally, but a lot of people have submitted research that's very like quantitative or like STEM related, but we're pushing really hard this year to also have like qualitative and some additional, even if it's like performance research, things that are like maybe even like photojournalists, you know, things like that, things that might not be what's considered traditionally like in the research kind of poster realm. So please still put in an intent to participate, even if you might not have a traditional idea for a poster, because we're really interested in that, especially this year because people have been really talking about how we want that, but we haven't really seen it, so we need to know if people are interested so we can kind of make that kind of presentation possible at this at the research forum. In addition, the Diversity Council is involved because we're really very focused, which I've mentioned previously, on there being like inclusion and equity components to see if like the criteria of your research meets kind of those. So we're developing the Diversity Council some criteria that say, yes, like we give the stamp of approval that not only is this great research, but it also contributes to like social justice and equity and like moving forward research in that direction. So not only would you get like an endorsement from the Diversity Council, but that makes you eligible for additional monetary awards at the end. So look for that, and if you feel like your research does apply for that, definitely put in an intent to participate for that. And then final pieces, there were 22 contestants for the 3-minute thesis presentations that happened. The first place winner is going to a conference in April. All expenses paid, so it's very exciting. And I actually think, oh, and the last one is there is currently an R&D that is, sounds like it's creating some contention within the committee, and is currently being discussed. So I'm not going to talk to you about it until I know more, because I know they're still talking about it before the actual general council meeting. But how about TBD, more to come as the discussion continues. And that is my announcement.
Any questions for Lindy on her report? Really? None?
I mean, she doesn't talk about money.
I know. I feel like I don't ever speak as much as I should. Maybe I should read all the resolutions, so I do my part sharing my voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seeing no questions, discussion, extra business. Move on to the next report from GPSC Vice President for Administrative Affairs, Diana.
Okay, so with our deductions of event funding, our remaining amount in event funding is $4,125. With the pending balance of CDRAs that need to be processed, that we'd still have about $5,000 remaining in that. And then also want to let you know that GPSC will be participating in the SIU Day of Giving. So we'll be under the graduate school count, because that's how we can process this the most easily where we have visibility. So we'll be promoting that in the upcoming week, and that's happening on Wednesday. So my days right? Yeah. So we're going to be doing an all-day push and drive. We'll send it out to you as well as through our social media how you can give and support that. Then on top of that, then we also are going to be working with the foundation to create a Saluki funder, and that funder will be going directly towards supporting our research awards and our outstanding teaching award. So will give us some opportunity to really push that as well, and we're giving further details of when that page opens and how to promote that, so that we can also look at some additional funding for those 2 awards. And yep.
Any questions? Comments on the fourth request? All right. Seeing none, go to my report. I've got 7 pages of stuff. No, I'm not. I'm not.
Old business.
Motion and table.
I mean, we are the table.
I'm gonna email with a follow-up. I don't want to add to it because it's already long enough. This is what happens when we don't have a meeting every other week. There's a number of items. We had the board meeting. That was a big deal. The Higher Learning Commission campus visit. I participated in a number of ways of that. Had some items on it. A number of news items, like signing the climate commitment that we just went through. Some position change-ups. Some policy adjustments to the ways that some fees are going to be charged or billed. The Day of Giving is a huge one. We are participating in it. Please share. We'll have a social media campaign for that, so please look at our Twitter going forward. Well, we'll meet the night before the Day of Giving, correct? Yeah. The student trustee election, you should have gotten the flyer for it. We have our members. You can reference that in the report itself. Please look into, share, promote, volunteer to serve on the committee for our awards, the Research Creative Activities Funding Award, Outstanding Teacher Award, our service awards. The websites are up, the submission forms are up, great opportunities. The Creative Activities and Research Forum, the intent to participate is due February 28th. If you are interested, or anyone you know that would be interested, do share. You have the flyer, share it in the email. We went over our elections. We had our meeting with the provost on February 14th. Also had a constituency heads meeting, which there's a summary of in here. And then we have some meetings set up with the incoming president, Dr. Mahoney, for next week. We have our executive board meeting, that's Monday. And then I will be meeting again as a member of the constituency heads with President Mahoney on, I think it's Tuesday. And then we still have the matter of the welcome and invite, which I mentioned we will deal with next Monday. Those are the highlights ahead of but you'll get the digital report with all the links and everything embedded in it for all the news and follow-up and good stuff. Any questions, discussion? Anything else? Yes.
Yeah, I would like to say just a final thought. So please, when I was asking and questioning, please don't feel attacked as a person or personally. If you feel that way, I apologize. But when I'm asking and questioning, I'm asking a person who is in a charge of responsibility. If there was any other person in that position, I would have done the same. So I don't have any issue with any person personally. And if you felt attacked, I apologize. But please know, if you're in a position of responsibility and duty, expect people to question, not out of not trusting, rather than trying to understand and to redirect the ship in a more common path. That's it. Thank you.
No further questions, discussion. Move on to the next item, which is committee reports. I served as proxy on a committee today. I will likely submit this to you all in the follow-up on the meeting. The
one note that I'll make, it was the final exam committee, and it would appear as though the final exam committee is likely going to be merged with the academic calendar committee going forward. If you're familiar with the way that we changed how final exams are scheduled, then you would understand potentially why that is occurring. If you have questions on that, the report is forthcoming. Also happy to answer any questions. Are there any additional committee reports that anyone would like to share? All right. Seeing none, I'll follow up with that. Where are we? Go to the order. All right, go to the order. Any announcements, last comments, questions?
Super quick.
Yes.
The HLC reaccreditation happened last week, or the visit, I should say. So we will get a report from them in a few months, or a few weeks, I believe, letting them know their decisions.
Going on in my report said, generally I have a pretty good feeling about it. Feels fine, and I had a pretty good conversation about it yesterday. Generally, I feel pretty good about it, and I've had a lot of interaction with a number of us in our council, had a number of interactions across the course of the campus visit. Generally, pretty good feeling about it. No other business for the council, would entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Second. All right, all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Holy cow, yeah, wait, is this first?
Yeah.
Yeah.